It seems that since the squad broke onto the scene in 2019, they have not been free from controversy. The squad originally included Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York, Ariana Presley of Massachusetts, Rashid Tlaib of Michigan, and Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. Later, Representative Jamal Bowman of New York and Cori Bush were added to the group, along with Greg Casar of Texas and Summer Lee of Pennsylvania. As members of the progressive left, they have tussled with members of their own party and have drawn ire from Republicans. Some of these controversies have been of their own making, as mistakes are often made by freshman congressmen, and their ideology puts them at odds with many members of Congress. But much of it has been objectively bullshit, and this week has been no different. We at Cypher Report go beyond the headlines where facts live and clickbait goes to die. Let's go ahead and get into it. News broke last week that the Department of Justice had served the House Sergeant of Arms with a subpoena for documents. We now know who the target of that investigation is: Missouri Democrat Cori Bush. Bush is being investigated by 3 different bodies: the Department of Justice, the House Ethics Committee, and the Federal Elections Commission, for allegedly misusing campaign funds to hire her husband for private security. Quote, "In recent months, right-wing organizations have lodged baseless complaints against me, peddling notions that I have misused campaign funds to pay for personal security. That is simply not true. I have complied with all applicable laws and House rules, and will continue to prioritize the rules that govern us as federal elected officials," Ms. Bush said in a statement previously reported by The Independent. If these allegations against Ms. Bush are true, she should be held account and forced to pay recompense. However, as we said at the outset of this segment, a lot of the ire that she is getting is just objectively bullshit. And true to form, Republicans cannot help themselves but to go very low and say some of the most horrent and objectively racist shit you can think of.
She doesn't even support the police. But the idea to pay her thug money to try to help protect her, this and that, for what? Maybe if she wouldn't be so loud all the time, maybe she wouldn't be getting threats.
Are you saying she deserves to be threatened?
No, what I'm saying is that when you're out there talking the way she does, I'm surprised that people are probably pretty upset, because she's a pretty radical. She's pretty radical. And maybe she should tone it down a little bit.
Are you kidding me? Calling her husband a thug, calling her a loud black woman, and saying she should shut up so she doesn't get threatened, rather than going after the people that are threatening her for her statements. Really, guy? Yeah, and nobody's going to hold him accountable. His party doesn't care. His voters don't care. That's probably why he got voted in the first place, is because of this kind of racist bullshit. And if you don't think this is racist, you aren't paying attention. Full stop. I know there are Republicans that watch this program. You need to understand why this is racist. They're telling her that she should shut up, that she's loud, a common trope used against black women trying to exert their own opinion. So that's one thing. 2, they're blaming her for the threats that she's receiving. He's blaming her for those threats, not the people that are calling it. And 3, calling her husband, who is an Army veteran, a thug. You got to recognize this for what it is. But let's continue on. Bush responded on X saying, quote, "Representative Tony Niels just called my husband, a black man, an Army veteran, a thug. And I'm the loud black woman who needs to be silent in order to be safe from violence? Or else?" Yeah, that's my response too. Are you fucking kidding me? Now, for his part, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries condemned his comments during a press conference on Thursday.
Clearly peddled in racially inflammatory language. He should apologize. It's disgraceful. And as far as I know, the person that he called a thug actually served in the United States military, putting his life on the line as so many of our service women and men do. We've just seen the sacrifice that is made by the men and women of the U.S. military. It's a solemn responsibility that they undertake. And to casually just throw out language, calling people thugs, is shameful.
Hakeem Jeffries is correct here. At the very least, Niels should apologize. But it would be much better if they censured his racist ass. If there is a silver lining that we can get from this, as bad as it is to say, is that at the very least, these investigations support that Attorney General Merrick Garland's commitment to conduct inquiries.
We are enforcing the law without fear or favor.
But we have more to cover in this segment because, again, Republicans are going to be on their bullshit. So let's turn now to Ilhan Omar's comments and some of the ire that Republicans are throwing her way. For those that do not know, Ilhan Omar gave a speech last week at an event that celebrated recent elections in Somalia. House Majority Whip Tom Emmer and several fellow Republicans criticized her speech, with Emmer calling for an ethics investigation. For what exactly? Well, Emmer and his fellow Republicans circulated a kind of translated version of the speech, with the Majority Whip calling her words anti-American, because of course he's saying this. But, and this is important, a reporter with Minnesota outlet Star Tribune, who speaks Somali, translated the speech and compared it to a transcript that Omar's office directed them to. After review of the transcript and the speech itself, the Star Tribune subsequently reported that Republican opponents had circulated a translation that may have miscategorized her actual comment, because of course they did. To put this in context a little bit, here we have the Star Tribune's translation of Ilhan Omar's speech. Here is the section that Omar says is mistranslated. Quote, "My answer was the US government will do what we tell the US government to do. We as Somalis should have that confidence in ourselves. We live in this country. We pay taxes in this country. It's a country where one of your own sits in Congress. As long as I'm in Congress, no one will take Somali secede. And the United States will not support other people to rob us. Rest assured, Minnesotans, the woman you sent to Congress is aware of you and has the same interest as you." For their part, Republicans that pushed this video from their outfits, such as the Washington Examiner, translated it in the following way. Quote, "The US government will only do what Somalians in the US tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interests of Somalia. Together, we will protect the interests of Somalia." It is a subtle change, but it is one of significant difference. Here they're saying that the Somalis in the United States that are citizens have a voice in the United States through her in Congress because they elected her as a representative, and therefore their opinions matter. In the other translation, it sounds much more like the Somalians are in charge and they will do what only Somalians will say. Do you see the issue here? I hope you do. Republicans don't really care about the truth when it comes to anything that you say about Ilhan Omar for two reasons. One, they don't like her ideology. They don't like the fact that she is outspoken and pushes for progressive policies. And she takes one of the seats that they feel is rightfully theirs. So of course they're going to do anything they can to win an election, even if that means lies and slander. And they don't like who she is as a person. They don't like the fact that she's an immigrant, and they don't like the fact that she's Muslim. And as such, they have been going after her with everything that they can to try to take her down because of those two issues. But as a result of this mistranslated bullshit they've been circulating online, another loudmouth blowhard came to the forefront to try to get an ousting of Ilhan Omar. And of course, I'm talking about Marjorie Taylor-Green.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A.1 of Rule 9, I seek recognition to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows.
Recognized.
Censuring Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. Whereas elected members of Congress take an oath to bear true faith and allegiance to the United States without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. Whereas Representative Ilhan Omar took an oath of allegiance to the United States upon becoming a citizen, declaring, "I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen." Whereas on January 27, 2024, Representative Omar gave remarks at an event in Minneapolis in which she made treasonous statements. Whereas Representative Omar said she has spoken to many Somalians who asked her to intercede for the Somali government by pressuring the United States government into certain actions.
The Georgia Republican called the censure legislation to the floor as a privileged resolution, which will essentially force the House to vote on it within 2 legislative days, meaning it will go to the floor early next week. It doesn't matter what she actually said. It doesn't matter what her connotation was for what she was talking about. All that matters is that they don't like her, they don't like her ideology, and they don't like who she is. The mistranslations here are pretty obvious to even people that don't speak Somali, that just have a little bit of knowledge about how different cultures operate. Calling a representative in Somalia her cousin is one of those things, but that just means close friend, right? Saying that they're like brothers, saying that they'll always be Somalis, that the representative of the United States work for them and they will do what they want to do, is just how it's supposed to work. You are a representative of a district. You're supposed to do what your district wants. That means taking the district's desires to the federal government as a member of the Congress and try to get their wishes and wants into law. That's just how it is. There's absolutely nothing anti-American about this. In fact, it is probably one of the most pro-American things that a person can do as a representative for their district. If you don't do that, you're not doing your job. And that is, and like I said, why do they care about this so much? The reason that they care about this so much is because of who she is and who she represents. You can't escape from this. You have to acknowledge that this is one of the, if not the biggest reason why they are against her and why they try to take her to task so much. And it is bullshit. But my friends, that concludes this segment of the Cypher Report. Be sure to tune in next time to get the information, news, tools, and analysis you need in order to decrypt the world.